And they went and dwelt in the east of the Garden of Eden. And Adam knew his wife, and she bore 2 sons and 3 daughters. And she called the name of the firstborn Cain, saying, I have obtained a man from the Lord. And the name of the other she called Abel, for she said, In vanity we came into the earth, and in vanity we shall be taken from it. And the boys grew up, and their father gave them a possession in the land. And Cain was a tiller of the ground, and Abel a keeper of sheep. And it was at the expiration of a few years that they brought an approximating offering to the Lord. And Cain brought from the fruit of the ground, and Abel brought from the firstlings of his flock, from the fat thereof. And God turned and inclined to Abel and his offering, and a fire came down from the Lord from heaven, and consumed it. And unto Cain and his offering the Lord did not turn, and he did not incline to it, for he had brought from the inferior fruit of the ground before the Lord. And Cain was jealous against his brother Abel on account of this, and he sought a pretext to slay him.
It's beyond science fiction where these people want to go, but that's where they want to go. And the only answer to it is consciousness, is to break out before we get into this cyborg, part biological computer, part technological computer. Break out of this perception control that we have now, the level we do now, before it gets into that level, because they want to move towards that very quickly.
We are the Borg. Lower your shields and surrender your ships. We will add your biological and technological distinctiveness to our own. Your culture will adapt to service us. Resistance is futile.
One must truly ask, is this the direction mankind should really be heading? But even more importantly is the question of whether mankind is actually being given any choice in the matter. And if the answer is no, then the next question is how might such a thing as the global implementation of the transhumanist agenda, as outlined by Kurzweil, actually be achieved without the knowledge of the general population?
Biotech is an exploding frontier. It is clever enough and small enough to enter and change our very cells. When nanobiotech has a firm footing in us, it will be easy to upgrade and downgrade anyone and anything in any way. Oliver Curry, an evolutionist at the London School of Economics, predicted in 2007, the human race will one day split into 2 separate species, an attractive, intelligent ruling elite and an underclass of dim-witted, ugly, goblin-like creatures.
Technology is only ever as dangerous as the mind of whomever wields it. And if those who hold the reins of power in this world can in any way be appraised according to their track record, then for the bulk of mankind, transhumanism presents itself as a very dire future indeed.
Many of the United States presidents have blood relations with each other. The Bush lineage has blood ties to a great number of former presidents. George Washington, Millard Fillmore, Franklin Pierce, Abraham Lincoln, Ulysses Grant, Rutherford Hayes, James Garfield, Grover Cleveland, Teddy Roosevelt, William Taft, Calvin Coolidge, Herbert Hoover, Franklin Roosevelt, Richard Nixon, and Gerald Ford. Michael Tessarion points out in his work that Bush is closely related to every European monarch on and off the throne, and has kinship with every member of Britain's royal family. Bush's family tree can be documented as far back as the early 15th century. He has a direct descent from Henry III and from Henry VIII's sister Mary Tudor. He is also descended from Charles II of England. And we also find that George W. Bush is a direct descendant of Godfrey the Bullion. Godfrey was the first king of Jerusalem after he recaptured it from the Saracens, which was the name for the Islamic faith during the Middle Ages. It is interesting to note that the current occupation of the United States in the Middle East was re-established by the same family, George Bush Sr. in 1991 and again by George Bush Jr. in 2003. George Bush Jr. is then found to be a cousin to both opposing candidates of his 2 terms in office, Al Gore and John Kerry. Democratic President Barack Obama also has blood ties with George W. Bush, as well as Gerald Ford, Lyndon Johnson, Harry Truman, James Madison, and the British Prime Minister Sir Winston Churchill. On the opposing side of the 2008 presidential ballot, John McCain is descended from Robert the Bruce, King William I of Scotland, and also Godfrey de Bouillon.
Let me take you through this, branch by branch.
The 101st Airborne Division, AEROSOLS.
Vice President Dick Cheney, the man who's only a heartbeat away from the presidency, is actually a blood relation. He's President Bush's 9th cousin once removed. Cheney's cousin Barack Obama is also Bush's 11th cousin and the 9th cousin of Brad Pitt. But we're only just getting started. President Lincoln was President Bush's 7th cousin 5 times removed, and Bush shared more than just a ballot with John Kerry. That's right, they're 9th cousins twice removed. There's also royalty in the Bush bloodline. Princess Diana was Bush's 11th cousin twice removed. And then there's this bombshell.
Happy birthday, Mr. President.
Sure, she may have been singing to JFK, but what about GWB? He is, after all, her 9th cousin 3 times removed.
Hey everyone, you're here with the Vigilant Christian Mario, and you're here for another edition of New World Order Exposed. In today's video, I wanted to expose the occult, satanic, Illuminati scientist, and how the Illuminati is actually using scientists to try and become like God. Through advanced DNA manipulation, transhumanism, man is seeking to become like God. So in today's video, we're going to be talking about this occult science and how it is going to be used in the plans for the New World Order. Now, why are they doing this and how are they doing this? Some of the forms of scientific advancement now that the Illuminati are going to be really advancing is, one of them is DNA manipulation. You could call it genetic engineering, where now they can actually genetically engineer. If I want a child, I can genetically engineer my child to come out a certain way, whether it's a boy, a girl. There's certain traits now that we can choose. So we are now trying to play God. We don't want to just let God be God. We want to try and take that role on upon ourselves. And this is where humanity is really going to fail. Is when we try to become like God. Anytime we try to be like God, we will fail because we are not almighty. We cannot fulfill that. Another thing that's very popular now is cloning. So they're going to be moving forward with cloning, taking one person and making several copies of that same person. Splicing will also be something that's going to be very popular. This is a movie called Splice. So again, they're showing you that they're going to be doing genetic splicing, so DNA splicing, taking from one gene pool and another gene pool and making these creatures out of it. So that's what the movie is about this new technology that's being developed. And an interesting thing is, if you study the book of Enoch, it actually talks about this being done in human history in the pre-flood world, that the fallen angels at that time had started to genetically mix all of the different animals and humans. And if you look in mythology, you always hear about these half human, half horses, and these creatures that are really a mix of several animals together. Now, that might not just be mythology. That might be, an account of a previous time in history where technological advancements and DNA, advancements were so well developed and sophisticated that they were able to do these type of things back then. Because with technological advancement, modern people, the atheist evolutionists, will think that we're just, we started off at the lowest point and we're constantly moving forward. Well, the Bible actually teaches that there's nothing new under the sun. The same technological advancements that we're experiencing today, they've been here before, according to the Bible. Nothing's new. It's not like this stuff is new. So now, we are just going through again this cycle of technological advancement, and it's very possible that in the pre-flood world, it was a large contributor to the flood, to the wickedness of the earth. Man started through technology to start to manipulate with God's creation, trying to be like God, creating its own creations. And that's really what Lucifer wants. And that is why this stuff is so evil and satanic, is because it is man trying to be like God, trying to create his own creations, take the pure genetic creations of God and make abominations out of them by genetically modifying them.
At that point, we're going to expand out into the rest of the universe. We'll be sending basically nanotechnology infused with artificial intelligence. Swarms of those will go out into the universe and basically find other matter and energy that we can then harness to expand the overall intelligence of our human-machine civilization. So the universe will wake up, it'll become intelligent, and that will multiply our intelligence trillions of trillions fold. You know, we can't really fully contemplate. And that's really the main reason this is called the singularity. But regardless of what you call it, it will be the universe waking up. So does God exist? Well, I would say not yet.
Excuse me, on the left over here, we have individuals who are religious fundamentalists, religious fanatics, and this is the expression, RT-PCR, real-time PCR expression of the VMAT2 gene. Over here, we have individuals. Let me complete. So over here, we have individuals who are not particularly fundamentalists, not particularly religious, and you can see there's a much reduced expression of this particular gene, the VMAT2 gene. Another evidence that supports our hypothesis for the development of this approach. What you see
here is by spreading this virus, we're going to eliminate individuals from donning on a bomb vest and going into a market and blowing up the market.
So our hypothesis is that these are fanatical people, that they have overexpression of the VMAT2 gene, and that by vaccinating them against this, we'll eliminate this behavior. So we have some very, very remarkable data in this next slide. Here we have two brain scans. These are fMRIs. These are two different individuals with different levels of expression of VMAT2. On top is an individual who's a religious fanatic, an individual, and we've repeated this numerous times, that has high levels of VMAT2. Now, this individual down here who had low levels of the VMAT2 gene, this individual would self-describe as not particularly religious. In each case, these individuals were read a religious text. This individual light lit up the right middle frontal gyrus, shown here, and that's a part of the brain that's associated with theory of mind. It's a part of the brain that has to do with intents and beliefs and desires. In contrast, in marked contrast, here's an individual who would not particularly self-describe as religious. And when they're read a religious text, what you see is that this part of the brain called the anterior insula lights up. This is a part of the brain that's associated with disgust or displeasure on hearing something. The data that I'm presenting here supports the concept that we're proposing. And I think that we would not propose to do CT scans or fMRIs on individuals out in the hinterlands of Afghanistan. The virus would immunize against this VMAT2 gene, and that would have the effect that you see here, which is it's essentially to turn a fanatic into a normal person. And we think that will have major effects in the Middle East.
How would you suggest that this is going to be dispersed? The aerosol?
Well, so the present plan and the tests that we've done so far have used respiratory viruses such as flu or rhinoviruses, and we believe that that's a satisfactory way to get the exposure of the largest part of the population. Most of us, of course, have been exposed to both of those viruses. and we're quite confident that this will be a very successful approach.
This is fascinating. What's the name of this proposal?
Yeah, so the name of this project is FUNVAX, which is the vaccine for religious fundamentalism.
And you have a proposal already?
The proposal has just been submitted, and I think that the data that I have shown you today would support the development of this project, and we think it has great promise.
FUNVAX, a top-secret government-made vaccine that cures religious fundamentalism. About 2 years ago, a video was released on YouTube which shows a scientist proposing a plan to eliminate Islamic extremists by genetically altering their belief in God.
But by spreading this virus, we're going to eliminate individuals from donning on a bomb vest and going into a market and blowing up the market.
So our hypothesis is that these are fanatical people, that they have overexpression of the VMAT2 gene, and that by vaccinating them against this, we'll eliminate this behavior.
This video immediately went viral, but there were doubts about its authenticity. Filmmaker Ryan Harper decided to get to the bottom of this.
I was at a wedding, and this person named Ann Lombardi came up to me, and Ann Lombardi is a mother of Joey Lombardi, who blew the whistle on FUNVAX. And she told me about Joey's story, and she heard through a mutual acquaintance that I was a filmmaker, and she thought I could help spread the word about FUNVAX.
Lombardi went AWOL from a military unit called Combat Camera, and then released that FUNVAX video on YouTube, as well as a handful of top-secret documents. He was arrested in the summer of 2011 in Argentina.
We've tracked down the scientist in the FUNVAX Pentagon lecture, and we've spoken with him. We've also talked to Noam Chomsky, who's intimately familiar with secret government programs. And what we find out would really blow your mind. It's going to change your perceptions of what's going on with FUNVAX.
So far, Ryan has had help from friends and family and credit cards to fund the film. But those resources have dried up, and he has turned to crowdsourcing to help finish the film.
The total budget for the film is $70,000. So far, we raised money through a private investor. We've also received some money through friends and family members. And we're trying to raise the rest of the money through crowdsourcing, and I hope that works.
We want to give back to all those who donate to the project. So if you donate $20, you will receive a FUNVAX DVD when it is completed. If you donate $30, we will provide you with a link to download a high-definition MP4 version of the film that you can watch on your HD TV. If you donate $50, we will give you a FUNVAX t-shirt as well as the HD download. For a donation of $75, we will give you a FUNVAX t-shirt, the HD download of the FUNVAX film, and a DVD copy of Ryan Harper's last film, Circulation. We'll also give you the soundtracks of both Circulation and the soundtrack to FUNVAX. There are even more gift options on the sidebar of this page, so be sure to check those out.
And I really want to thank you for watching this video. It's going to be an important film. And as much help as you could give us, even if you can't donate to the project, please pass this on to your friends through Facebook or send out an email. The more people that watch the video, the better. And so I want to thank you a lot for all your help.
Today's date is January 19th, 2015 on Monday. The time is 9:56 p.m. Pacific Time. Pink here. Up next, I have an article by Mike Adams, the Health Ranger. This is dated January 20, 2015. 600 strains of an aerosolized, thought-controlled vaccine already tested on humans, deployed via air, food, and water. According to the document you're about to see, for the last 8 years, government scientists have actively engineered viral vaccines designed to alter thoughts and beliefs by infecting the brain and suppressing genetic expression of neurological cells. Dispersal of these vaccines have been tested via high-altitude aerosolized sprays, highway vehicles, the water supply, and even the food system. As you'll see in the document and video below, the vaccine was intended from the start to be deployed against civilian populations, and 600 strains of infectious viruses were tested on human subjects. One of the transmission vectors documented in the testing exploited an influenza strain to spread the mind-infecting virus as a pandemic. The point of all this is to infect the minds of the population and transform people into what the government calls normal. From the government's point of view, of course, normal means obedient and mindless.
Welcome, my friends. Welcome. It is August 3rd, 2010 on this live Tuesday edition. We're going to be live here for the next 3 hours. Dr. Russell Blaylock, top brain surgeon, neurologist, will be joining us coming up in 30 minutes. And it's a perfect day to have him on because I have had a very serious epiphany or awakening in the last 48 hours. Just a further understanding of how right we've been all along in our analysis and reverse engineering of the scientific dictatorship. There is now a complete coming out by the bioethicist, by the eugenicist. They're openly announcing global one-child policies. They're openly admitting they plan to sterilize the population. They're openly announcing forced inoculations. And they shouldn't even be called inoculations. They are genetic re-engineering compounds, live viruses that attack the brain. And that's just one family of these. And the Pentagon is announcing they are going to inject the troops with these as if they're unwitting guinea pigs. This is so incredible. The New York Times, Time Magazine, the British Journal of Psychiatry, the Huffington Post, Wired Magazine, and countless other publications in the last week have simultaneously come out with straight faces and said, we're going to inject you with live viruses to where you won't be depressed anymore. And they say it cognitively enhances you. They say lithium in the water will cognitively enhance you. It lowers IQ, is toxic, makes you servile. It's an antipsychotic, very toxic metal. But they call that cognitive enhancement, just like the national CBS news pieces about how mercury cognitively enhances children. So with a straight face, they're coming out and saying, we're going to forcibly drug your water and forcibly inject you with live, genetically altered viruses. In this one particular article out of the Mail newspaper, it reports, and Stanford Research Institute's behind it and others, and the Pentagon's funding it, a virus that goes in and goes into the receptor sites for anger and for determination, basically self-preservation. It admits this and wipes them out. The viruses literally replicate and destroy or eat these nerve endings in your neurons. And they're just reporting it totally calmly. And they're reporting, we are going to drug your water supply. Now, here's the news flash. They're already drugging the water supply. They're already genetically engineering crops in every major study to reduce fertility and cause organ failure and cancer. They picked of thousands of plastic formulas in the last 50 years, bisphenol A, to wrap all of your foods, to contain all of your liquids, juice, milk, baby formula, that annihilates the normal genetic operations. This is all admitted. What's incredible is we've got evidence they're already adding this to vaccines. Much of the public can't get upset and can't motivate themselves for self-preservation because they've already been lobotomized. Yes, this is really going on. It's 100%. And they're coming to try to forcibly inject you, but it gets worse. It gets worse. Stay with.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name's Tom Khalil. I'm the Deputy Director for Technology and Innovation with the White House Office of Science and Technology Policy, and I'm joined by two of the rock stars of science, Arthi Prabhakar, who's the Director of the Defense Advanced Research Projects Agency, and Dr. Francis Collins, who's Director of the National Institutes of Health. And we're here this afternoon to take your questions on Twitter about an exciting announcement that the President made this morning to launch a $100 million BRAIN initiative, which stands for Brain Research through Advancing Innovative Neurotechnologies. And this initiative is really designed to improve our understanding of how the brain works, to improve our ability to diagnose, treat, cure, and ultimately prevent diseases of the brain, and to help create the industries and jobs of the future. So if you think about what we could learn about designing future information and communications technologies by understanding how the human brain works. So here to tell us a little bit about what their agency will be doing to advance the President's BRAIN initiative is Arthi Prabhakar, Director of DARPA.
It's great to be here with both of you today. DARPA is participating in this initiative out of a view that what is happening today in the biological sciences and the new research in brain technology, brain understanding is really opening a window that we think is going to lead to some amazing and powerful capabilities ahead.
Mice are constantly being used in scientific research. Now, they could also be used in research that never really happened. Confused? Let us explain. In a mind control experiment, a team of scientists claim they've been able to plant a false memory in the minds of mice. Researchers targeted the brains of genetically engineered mice and made specific neurons respond with light to make them recall events that didn't actually happen. The Boston Globe explains one test in which a mouse was placed in a chamber illuminated with a reddish light and the faint smell of vinegar. The mouse froze. A series of electric foot shocks would be coming soon, as the mouse remembered had happened the last time. But the shocks never came. This was a false memory the mouse had actually reacted to. But don't worry, scientists aren't planning to implant false memories into people.
If we are to escape the same fate that befell the Neanderthals and our other experimental predecessors, our best hope for survival is to crack our genetic code and activate the power of our divine DNA. Dr. Hammer, a molecular geneticist, claims he has identified the God gene in human DNA. It's called VMAT2, and its job is to release the feel-good chemicals in our body called dopamine and serotonin, which give us the experience of bliss. VMAT2 is the DNA gene of our pineal gland. What's the pineal gland? It's a gland about the size of a raisin located between our eyebrows and directly behind our eyes, right smack in the middle of our cranium. It's called the pineal gland because it resembles a tiny pine cone. This powerful gland is believed to be the seat of our soul and the gateway to the universe and higher realms. Because its structure is remarkably similar to our eyeballs, it's called the third eye or the mind's eye. It actually has a lens, cornea, and retina. The blue bloods revere it. They call it the all-seeing eye and have featured it on the US $1 bill. Strangely, our pineal gland, which is tucked away in the dark recesses of our brain, is bioluminescent and sensitive to light. Like a cell phone, it has a built-in wireless transmitter and is the connecting link between the physical and spiritual worlds and higher frequencies. By awakening our pineal gland, we can speed up our learning and memory abilities, enhance our intuition, wisdom, and creativity, trigger our psychic healing abilities, and experience bliss. The symbol of this pine cone-shaped gland is the pine cone. It is so revered by the Vatican that a special court was built called the Court of the Pine Cone, where the symbol of the world's largest pineal gland is on display. The symbol is also found on the staff of the Pope and the Egyptian god Osiris. Considering the power and function of the pineal gland, why has it been ignored and given so little mainstream attention? Why? Because it's our power source, and the ruling families know this. Medical science refers to the pineal gland as the atrophied third eye. By the age of 12, it is already calcified and hardened, and by adulthood, it is dormant and atrophied from lack of use. Recent research reveals that fluoride, which is a toxic additive to our water supply and toothpaste, accumulates in the pineal gland where it wreaks havoc. Outdoor activities, eating less sugar, and eliminating processed foods and fluoride from our diet can help to revitalize it.
We'll now take a quick look at pineal gland symbology and the pine cone. Why the truth and information about this knowledge has been a well-guarded secret of the priest class for a great many years. The symbol of the all-seeing eye has always been a part of Earth's creation mythologies and mysteries. In ancient Egypt and in the modern-day dollar bill, it is symbolized by the Eye of Horus, or the all-seeing eye. The symbol was passed down through the ancient mystery teachings of Babylon, to be found on the American dollar bill. Why the symbol of the eye? The eye is the observer of reality, or the illusion of reality. In the physical body, your eyes look outward. Though it views objects upside down, it next sends the message of what it observes to the brain, which interprets the image and makes it appear right side up to us. But the human body has another physical eye, whose function has long been recognized by humanity. It is called the third eye, which in reality is the pineal gland. It is the spiritual third eye, our inner vision, and it is considered the seat of the soul. It is located in the geometric center of the cranium. The pineal gland is about the size of a grain of rice and is in the center of the brain. It is located in the geometric center in the brain as well. It is located directly behind the eyes, attached to the third ventricle. The true function of this mysterious gland has long been contemplated by philosophers and spiritual adepts. Ancient Greeks believed the pineal gland to be our connection into the realms of thought. The Scardes called it the seat of the soul. This gland is activated by light, and it controls the various biorhythms of the body. It works in harmony with the hypothalamus gland, which directs the body's thirst, hunger, sexual desire, and the biological clock that determines our aging process. When the pineal gland awakens, one feels a pressure at the base of the brain. This pressure will often be experienced when connecting to higher frequency. A head injury can also activate the third eye pineal gland. While the physiological function of the pineal gland has been unknown until recent times, mystical traditions and esoteric schools have long known this area in the middle of the brain to be the connecting link between the physical and spiritual worlds. Considered the most powerful and highest source of ethereal energy available to humans, the pineal gland has always been important in initiating supernatural powers. Development of psychic talents has been closely associated with this organ of higher vision. The pineal gland contains a complete map of the visual field of the eyes, and it plays significant roles in human functioning. With the pineal gland being a pine cone-shaped gland, we will now take a look at some of the symbology of pine cones throughout the world, symbolizing the third eye and the attainment and the restriction also of knowledge. The most fascinating of all pine cone pineal gland iconography is found in Rome at the Vatican. This is the largest representation of a pine cone found anywhere in the world and is adorned by two peacocks, which symbolize immortality and resurrection. Notice that the pine cone is green and undeveloped. This is symbolic of how the priest class wishes for our third eyes to remain immature, unopened, and unable to see the true light and nature of reality. This symbol is an in-your-face reminder of the restriction of knowledge and the power of keeping mankind in a state of arrested development through the withholding of pineal gland information, thus keeping us from knowing the true nature of reality through providing us with false religions.
In my book, there's a lot of genealogical research, going back, Dick's family, my family, these heroic and amazing tales of people who went west. But one of the things I discovered is that Dick and Barack Obama are 8th cousins. What? Is that an amazing thing? Yes, if you go back 8 generations, really? They have a common ancestor.
These spiritual beings have been ruling this planet through very specific bloodlines, who long ago swore allegiance to these beings in exchange for wealth and power over the human race. In preparing the whole world for the ultimate spiritual deception, these evil entities have planned.
Who's running America and the climate action plans? And what does the silent weapons system mean? What does that mean? Okay. We'll know our disinformation program is complete when everything the American public believes is false. I want you to think about that. This was former CIA Director William Casey, and he told us this. And I don't think people paid much attention. I certainly didn't. And this is on our website, stopthecrime.net. So as we look forward, we look at who's running America. And again, this is only meant to be a small portion of this evening's topic, but it's important to understand we're not running America. And in fact, globalists are running America. And when you look at Senate Report 93549, it's very, very clear. Our country, every year since 1933, has initiated a perpetual emergency war powers. Every year, it's reinitiated by every sitting president. And what that means is that when we're under a perpetual Emergency Powers Act. The Constitution has been suspended. The Constitution has been suspended. We're under corporate law. We're not under constitutional law. And it's important to understand and take a look at Senate Report 93549. It is on stopthecrime.net. It's on the home page. There's a large yellow section on stopthecrime.net that will talk about who's running America. And this also you can download from the website. It talks about the bankruptcy of America and the corporate United States and the New World Order, and how the Uniform Commercial Code replaced the United States Constitution. Extremely important to understand. We're a nation, we're USA Inc., and we're running on a corporate structure. It has a very significant structure. It's based on contracts. And we're going to get into that here in a bit, because some of these books on the table are contracts that have been signed for us and implemented for us, and you don't know about this because you don't need to. You don't need to. They don't think that you need to. Now,
recently there's been this video going around on the net called USA Inc. Depopulation and You with Deborah Tavares, and I think she has this site stopthecrime.net, or she refers to it anyway, and she talks about in this video a document called Silent Weapons for Quiet Wars. I came over here to read this document and found it quite interesting. So I'm going to go through the whole document here in this video. The original video I'll put links to, the USA Inc. Depopulation, and I want to thank Ashley Law for referring that video to me. It's very disturbing, and this document is very disturbing as well. So I will include links to this and to the actual video, and it takes a little while to get through. It's 44 pages long, but there's also a lot of technical pages in here that I'm just going to scroll past, and if you care to read them, help yourself, pause the video to read those technical parts of it. But thank you very much for listening, and hopefully you can get all the way through it. Forward. This manuscript was delivered to our offices by an unknown person. We did not steal the document, nor are we involved with any theft from the United States government, and we did not get the document by way of any dishonest methods. We feel that we are not endangering the national security by reproducing this document. Quite the contrary, it has been authenticated, and we feel that we are not only within our rights to publish it, but morally bound to do so. Regarding the training manual, you may have detected that we had to block out the marginal notes by the selectee at the CIA Training Center, but I can assure you that the manual is authentic and was printed for the purpose of introducing the selectee to the conspiracy. It has been authenticated by 4 different technical writers for military intelligence. One just recently retired who wants very much to have this manual distributed throughout the world, and one who is still employed as an electronics engineer by the federal government and has access to the entire series of training manuals. One was stationed in Hawaii and held the highest security clearance in the naval intelligence, and another who is now teaching at a university and has been working with the Central Intelligence Agency for a number of years and wants out before the axe falls on the conspirators. We believe that the entire world should know about this plan, so we distributed internationally 100 of these manuscripts to ask individuals at top-level positions their opinions. The consensus opinion was to distribute this to as many people as who wanted it, and to the end that they would not only understand that war had been declared against them, but would be able to properly identify the true enemy to humanity. Conspiracy theories are nothing new to history. Plots to kill Caesar and overthrow Rome abounded, for instance. However, it is seldom that concrete clues to such plots come to light and are generally known. Silent Weapons for Quiet Wars, an introduction programming manual, was uncovered quite by accident on July 7, 1986, when an employee of a Boeing aircraft company purchased a surplus IBM copier for scrap parts at a sale and discovered inside details of a plan hatched in the embryonic days of the Cold War, which called for control of the masses through manipulation of industry, peoples, pastimes, education, and political leanings. It called for a quiet revolution, putting brother against brother and diverting the public's attention from what is really going on. The document you are about to read is real. It is reprinted in its virgin form with diagrams as a touch of reality. Top secret. Silent Weapons for Quiet Wars Operations Research Technical Manual TM-SW7905.1. Welcome aboard. This publication marks the 25th anniversary of the Third World War, called the Quiet War, being conducted using subjective biological warfare fought with silent weapons. This book contains an introductory description of this war, its strategies, and its weaponry. May 1979, number 74-1120. Security. It is patently impossible to discuss social engineering or the automation of a society, i.e. the engineering of a social automation system's silence weapons on a national or worldwide scale without implying extensive objectives of social control and destruction of human life, i.e. slavery and genocide. This manual is in itself an analog declaration of intent. Such a writing must be secured from public scrutiny, otherwise it might be recognized as a technically formal declaration of domestic war. Furthermore, when any person or group of persons in a position of great power and without full knowledge and consent of the public uses such knowledge and methodologies for economic conquest, it must be understood that a state of domestic warfare exists between said person or group of persons and the public. The solution of today's problems requires an approach which is ruthlessly candid, with no agonizing over religious, moral, or cultural values. You have qualified for this project because of your ability to look at human society with cold objectivity and yet analyze and discuss your observations and conclusions with others of similar intellectual capacity without the loss of discretion or humility. Such virtues are exercised in your own best interest. Do not deviate from them. Politicians hold many quasi-military jobs, the lowest being the police, which are soldiers, the attorneys and CPAs next, who are spies and saboteurs licensed, and the judges, who shout out orders and run the closed union military shop for whatever the market will bear. The generals are industrialists. The presidential level of commander-in-chief is shared by the international bankers. The people know that they have created this farce and financed it with their own taxes, given consent, but they would rather knuckle under than be the hypocrite. Thus a nation becomes divided into two very distinct parts: a docile subnation, a great silent majority, and a political subnation. The political subnation remains attached to the docile subnation, tolerates it, and leeches its substance until it grows strong enough to detach itself and then devour its parent. That's where this document came from, and I will include links below in the description. And thank you very much again for listening. And get this out to your friends and family. Tell them about stopthecrime.net. Show them the article. You can download it from there.
And I would suggest that you read it. It is, or listen to it. It's one of the most important 44-page documents that you could ever read. And essentially, when you build upon the Senate Report 93549, which identifies all of you and me as enemies of the government, then you build upon the Silent Weapons document, which is a technical research manual that was put together in the 40s by the U.S. Air Force, Rockefeller, the international bankers, and Harvard University. It is a manual that is intended for economic domination of the world and control of all energy. Now, energy is not what you think about, just PG&E and water and gas. It's your energy. We're all energy, and we're frequencies. And it's important to understand they plan to control it all. Now, they say in the Silent Weapons Quiet Wars document that when you have a few wealthy people with the methodologies and the goal to control all energy on the planet, and they have not told us, it is considered a declaration of war. And so the Silent Weapons document is a declaration of war.
substitute for that function, and it really boils down to total population control. Current trends in warfare, the increased strategic bombing of civilians, and a greater military importance now attached to the destruction of sources of supply as opposed to purely military bases, strongly suggests that a truly qualitative improvement is in the making. In other words, as we phase down the war system, there's probably going to be one great last one in their plans to really reduce the world population. There is no question but that a universal requirement that procreation be limited to the products of artificial insemination would provide a fully adequate substitute control for the population. A universal requirement that procreation be limited to products. See how they treat people. Conception and embryonic growth taking place wholly under laboratory conditions would extend these controls to their logical conclusion. Now, total and complete control, this is what this means, of every human being born. They will be pre-selected genetically to be a slave to the rich men of the earth. This is the system they're setting up. They have an intermediate step, total control of conception with a variant of the pill via water supplies or certain essential foodstuffs. In other words, they intend to, when they bring in this new system, they will stop the growth of the population. They will put it into the food or the water supplies, and then they would offset it by a controlled substance so that it could be countermanded and the woman become pregnant. And they claim in Iron Mountain that it was already under investigation and under work back in 1961. So the interpretation is the mandatory mass sterilization of the human race with them in total control of all the antidotes for it. Excess population, Iron Mountain says, is war material. As long as any society must contemplate even a remote possibility of war, it must maintain a maximum supportable population.
As more and more rules are put into place, mankind is becoming increasingly more regimented. We now find police officers stationed on school grounds, as what was once a childhood prank and part of growing up is now often seen as a breach of law, a crime. Self-expression is frowned upon unless it is carried out under strict supervision. And at the rate our regulatory bodies are going, eventually society will no longer tolerate any individuality at all. Eventually it will be illegal to even think outside of the box. Essentially, illegal to be truly human. The truth of the matter is that the people of this world are, even now, living in a very low-security open-air prison. And the only ones who can implement the positive change required to escape it and to pave the way for a free humanity are the people themselves. The solution has been there all along, for the solution lies with the people. It has always lain with the people. And all that is really required for mankind to escape from the prison that enslaves us is for people to realize the truth of the invisible bars that surround their minds, and to realize that the bars are only there due to people's belief that the system is real.
How can you see into my eyes like open